yarn lovers, it's Gary and I'm in my living room coming to you from Vancouver, Canada. So welcome, welcome, welcome. This is my second video of today and it is Wednesday, April 1st, 2020, and I haven't prepared any jokes for April 1st, it being April Fool's Day and all, but I have prepared some seriously exciting experiment results from my hand dyeing over the weekend. And if you're new to visiting this channel and are thinking, I wonder what this is all about. Hi, my name's Gary and I've set up this YouTube channel to explore all of my yarn journey. So that is with knit, crochet, and I've just started hand dyeing. And so yeah, I've got some clips to share with you on me being in the kitchen. It was quite a late night. I got to like 4 a.m. in the morning still sprinkling dye and had my mask over my face, so it was very hard to hear me, and washing up, and I washed the whole kitchen down at the end of my hand dyeing experimenting. So it was a 4 a.m. event, which I kind of had a sleep in the next day, but yeah, I've got some clips and an apology because I tried to capture some of the speckling techniques and it's very difficult for me. I have to hold the camera. I don't have the equipment like a tripod and lighting, and the kitchen's very small. But for some reason, part of the videoing did not record, so I do apologize. The speckling will have to be revisited at a later date with another dye experiment. But some of it did get captured and I will share that with you now and come back to show you the end results. Hey there yarn lovers, it's Gary. I'm in the kitchen. So Friday night I'm asked, let's go into the Zoom chat room and have fun. And I say, no I can't, I'm soaking my yarn. And Saturday night I will be dyeing my yarn. So here we have 3 different tubs of varying yarns that I'm soaking in a little bit of vinegar and water. And yeah, those are the KnitPicks yarns, those are Hobium tweed, though there are a couple of hanks in there from previous yarn that I dyed of the turquoise color. I'm going to try and get a gradient into those, see how that works up. And I believe there is Peyton's mull that I am trying out as well, which is in this one here. So yeah, all fun and games in the kitchen, Friday and Saturday. Hi, back again here with what is on the stove simmering away. I just realized that my video did not record the first hand-dyed lot of yarn, so I do apologize for that technology. Hey, so I had my long tray set up on the 2 back burners here, and I had access to sprinkling the dyes on top of them while they were heated on the 2 elements. So unfortunately we'll have to wait for the next time I do that. But what I have in the pot right now is a concoction of Aztec gold dye that was fed, I fed the yarn base of the KnitPicks in very gradually, so there was a gradation, I'm hoping, of the Aztec gold, and then as I laid them down I noticed that all of the dye for the Aztec gold was had been soaked up, and then I sprinkled on top the chestnut brown, and so it kind of did do a little bit of a speckling effect. And I'm just checking the water now. It's almost running clear. It has a little bit of the chestnut brown still in it. And that was the timer that went off for 40 minutes. So yeah, I will take it out and rinse it up and we'll see how it looks in the rinse. Okay, so here we are in the wash bath of the yarn that I took out. And I am thrilled with the results. So what I have in my hand is the KnitPicks. It's the Mist 100% cotton, and it was in the River Bluff colorway, but I threw a hank in to soak up the Aztec Gold, which was from the iDye series, and also the Chestnut, which I believe was from the iDye series as well. So it really took fantastic. And one thing I'm really frustrated with KnitPicks is that they do not hank up and tie up their hanks very well. So I've had the hardest time trying to figure out where the end is on this, and also the fibers or the strands in this hank are just all tangled up. So originally they did have a very loose tie, and just frustrating to have the whole thing just fall apart within the pot. So yeah, but thrilled with the dye experiment. So welcome back, and yeah, so let's get stuck into showcasing what I had achieved with the dye. I'm going to revisit and go back a little bit on an experiment I did earlier on in video 41, where I used this, there we go, I used this as the base, and it was from Hobium yarns called Lamia Natural Wool. So it's 100% wool in this beige base color. And what I had achieved in that video was a turquoise experiment, which is this one here that I showcased. What I wanted to do was see whether I could over dye a dyed yarn to see whether it would pick up more dye color. And I also wanted to see what a second color introduced into this particular yarn would do. So I chose cobalt, and I half hung the skein of yarn off a pole into the dye pot, and you can see that it picked up and accepted some of the extra cobalt color, and I do love that effect. It actually gives me a bit more tonal variation. So those are the three stages of what I had done from this base one. And I caked up, and I also did it to another hank, but I caked it up so that you could see what it looks like with the cobalt and turquoise together. And I absolutely love it. I'm thinking of making a hat and scarf set, or maybe using it in color work for a cowl or a jumper, a sweater. So amazing results there with that one. Okay, so I want to showcase what can go wrong when you're experimenting, and here it is here. I have showcased this yarn before, but it wasn't in this state. In video 41, it was a successful experiment with speckling, and I had this wrapped up in cellophane, sorry, not cellophane, saran wrap, and I had it simmering in the pot experiment in the colander. And I wanted to over dye it like I had done with the turquoise cobalt. And so I hung this half submerged in the cobalt water. And what had happened was I took it, what had happened was I took it out and either washed it too vigorously, or the temperature had changed too drastically that it started to felt together. Now I'm not sure whether I can save it. I'm going to keep it in my stash as a reminder to be a little bit more gentle with the process of washing, and maybe I might even try and separate the strands to see how I can maybe use it in a garment or not. We'll see. The next thing that I've got to showcase is experiments that I did with the same yarn experiment. In video 41, I achieved this turquoise colored variegated effect, and I'm using this one in cowl right now, and the base is from Hobium yarns. It is a collection called Yarn Art. I'm not sure whether they still have this on their site. It was before they went away and came back, but it is their Yarn Art Tweed collection. And here's what I came up with. Now, this soak up was actually had a bit of cobalt in it as well. So the cobalt came through a little bit more intensely. I guess the color did change somewhat, but I am super happy with both the results. I love that. And the yarn did not change in texture. It's still soft, and you don't need to wear undergarments if you were to make a garment out of this. Very, very soft. You could wear that against your skin. The last thing that I did in that pot while it still had turquoise and cobalt in it was I utilized this base yarn, Peyton's Classic Wool Worsted, and I had hanged this up and hung it across the bar into the pot of turquoise cobalt, and I got half of these hanks in turquoise cobalt, and as you can see, the color isn't as intense because the reason was I was doing the soak up so I could reintroduce a new color into the dye pot. And what I had added after all of the turquoise cobalt was soaked up was the Aztec gold and the fluorescent yellow. So I had pulled out the rod, added the new colors in, switched the bare yarn that had not been dyed yet, and swung that around the rod and resubmerged those into the pot that way. And so I could get like two ends of the yarn with different colors, variegating from the turquoise and cobalt to the Aztec gold and fluorescent yellow, if that makes sense. Oh my God, that's a mouthful. So this is how they hanged up wonderfully, and this is the original. Love that. And the results were that the dye did not change the feel of the yarn. Now this one is a little bit more itchy, and you could make add this to a sweater or wear an undergarment to have this one either as like a top, or if you were going to make a hat, that would be fine as well. Really, really like the results of this one. The next two skeins that I hanged up and I threw into the dye pot were the same yarn base as the Hobium Yarn Art Tweed from Hobium, and I was submerging them into the dye pot when the Aztec gold and the fluorescent yellow were in there, and these are how they worked up. A lovely toasty yellow brownish color. Love, love, love them. And the feel, the dye did not affect the structure or the feel of the yarn. So beautiful color. And to soak up the last remaining bits in that dye pot of the Aztec gold and the fluorescent yellow, I threw in this 100% cotton from KnitPicks, and it amazingly took all the dye. I added salt because it is a 100% cotton and needs to have, I guess, the salt to fix the yarn to the dye to the yarn. And this collection is called Color Mist. River Bluff is the colorway, and so it was a natural colored yarn with splotches of green. And what it had done was it took the color, and the color changed according to where it adhered to. So the base color of the beige, it was this vibrant yellow and kind of toasty color, and where it hit the green, it became a little bit more of a different tone. I love that. Such a successful thing. That would make a great garment for summer. Yeah, if you have any suggestions on these things, please leave them below in the comments. So the next little experiment that I did was all in the flat. All of the ones that I showcased already was in the pot, but these ones that are coming up were in the flat pan that I had gotten for my birthday. to dye yarn in. And just to showcase the bare yarn that I used for that, these next experiments was from KnitPicks, and this is the color of one of them. I used 4 skeins in my experiments of this. What is it? It's a Shawl sport is what they call it. And the mix of this is superwash merino, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. And this is what I achieved with the nylon base one, superwash merino nylon. What I'll do is I'll showcase these 3, although I did 4. Look at that. Holy smokes. So I had laid these flat in the pan and speckled the colors into the yarn with a little bit of rubbing with my hand to get like the bleed to kind of wash further than just a speckle. Love that. Just amazing and soft. I mean, these colors are all the same that I used in the dye pot, but they all look very unique. That one has a larger saturation here of the color. Just delicious. I love them so much. Yeah, so I did 4 of them. So I wanted to showcase these 2 because I did not ball them up and then rehang them, because these ones were just as they appear to be in the flatbed, whereas this one is the same, but it was balled up and then rehung. So shows the colors in a different kind of more mixed. So yeah, absolutely adore them. Oh my god, that is such a thumbnail there. Look at that. Really super happy with that. The other one that I did was the Hawthorne series. I utilized all of the 6 Hawthorne series that I purchased in the bare yarn, and a little bit about that is it is 80% fine superwash Highland wool and 20% polyamide. So I did 2 things to this yarn. The first one was I poured into the vat of dye, I poured in a mixture of the Aztec gold, fluorescent yellow, and chestnut brown, and I got this base color on half of the hanks. Just amazing. Beautiful, beautiful brown there. Very, very toasty, vibrant. And the undertones of that fluorescent yellow, amazing. And it bled up into this part here where we got more of the walnut color. And then I sprinkled some straight, through a tea strainer, I sprinkled the chestnut brown to get the spots. Love that. Super, super soft. And for the next 4 skeins, I laid them out together side by side in the pan or in the tray, and I got these. I sprinkled all of the colors that I could into the yarn. So it is like hundreds and thousands. And this is how I kind of had laid them out, because you see the 2 centered ones are a little bit more saturated than the 2 outer ones. And that's because I'm not very skilled at evenly pouring across from side to side and giving the full effect across the full 4 skeins. So the 2 middle ones got most of the yarn, and the 2 outer ones a little less. But what I'm thinking of doing is doing a little bit of a gradation where I will put the two faded ones at the beginning of the work and then the two more intense ones towards the end of the work. So that could be like maybe a thin jumper or a sweater, I should say, or it could be a really big wrap. I'm not too sure. What do you think would make a good garment out of these? Or I might want to separate them and create maybe a set of some sort, like a cowl and a light top together. So yeah, that could be another solution for the 4 skeins. Love, love, love that. So I believe that covers all of my things. No, I have one more thing to showcase. And that is a test that I did with this hobium yarn called Kartopu. And I don't recall at what stage I did this test, but I wanted to test whether I could dye the halo. And I do remember it going into the pot when it had the turquoise cobalt, but it didn't take. So what I had done was I had added it to the tray and I just sprinkled a heavy dose of chestnut on top of it, and it took to the chestnut. So the iDye chestnut color took, and it didn't give a full saturation of the chestnut because chestnut is really a dark brown, but it took a little bit of it. And I have a feeling that because of the composition of the fiber is mostly acrylic, there's only a small percentage devoted to natural fiber, which is 10% mohair and 10% wool. So I think the wool component and the mohair component died and the acrylic remained the same. But I got a nice little wash there of the color, so it's now, I can now use it as a two-tone or hold it together with another yarn so that you get the fuzz with it, because it's only it's a very fine 2. Let me see what they classify this. No classification, but it is a fine 2 yarn, maybe even a fingering weight. Yeah, with the halo, I think it would be classified as a fine 2. Yeah. Love all of those results. So I want to hear what you think of what's your favorite yarn in what I showcased. What would you make from your favorite choices as well? I'm looking for patterns, and yeah, I'd love to hear all of your suggestions. So thanks for bearing with me up until this point. I know I had a lot to talk and get through, but if you did like this video, please give me a thumbs up, supply a comment. I love reading them. And if you're new to this channel and are thinking about subscribing, please do. It encourages me to move forward. And if you're a returning subscriber, fiber friend, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye for now.